The hardest part is sticking around. If you can stick around and study consistently for 2 years, you're gonna make it. If you get into the urge of getting a Lambo or going to the club and buying bottles and forcing the trade and then you lose all this bad toxic behavior, it's not gonna work out.
David, amazing having you on the podcast today. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely, man. I'm really happy to be here. I'm excited.
So, David, you have an absolutely amazing story. As like I introed, I know that the entire audience is going to be extremely excited for diving into the financial side of things, giving a ton of tidbits, and then going through the entire entrepreneurial journey. But really, if we could start back all the way to like 2016 when you told me that you like really started in trading, I want to hear about like the transitional period of bringing you into the trading world and like what got you there, and then how did the first like year go?
All right, the first year. So, I was just stuck. So I had a lot of student loans. I came to Los Angeles from Miami in 2010. Go a little bit before that. So 2010, I came here to study architecture under really big architects, big name architects at UCLA. That was my focus. And I was really happy to do that. Back then, even Arnold Schwarzenegger was the governor of the California. And then shortly after, I had a brain operation. And, the brain operation slowed me down. I had to take a couple years off, a year and a half, 2 years of taking like independent study classes to stay in the school system while I used the school system's insurance to keep the doctors I had with my brain operation, brain tumor operation. And then I finished my degree, and by then it was like 2015, almost 2016. I went to get work in the architecture field, and the student loans hit me. It was a lot of student loans from all those years compiled. I had some out-of-state tuition, professional fees, all this grad school fees, and it was just ridiculous. It was a big sum, over six figures, and I had to find a solution. So I had to think about it. Okay, so what am I gonna do? If I stick with the architecture route, 9 to 5, work my way up, get licensed, I'm always gonna be in debt. And so, and then okay, and if I, so I can go the entrepreneur route as well. So like what, so I had to really think about it, and I came down to real estate or stocks. And this is 2016, and I signed up for a course of stocks, a foundational course that had like 10,000 hours of real material that I investigated and like did my research and due diligence, because there's a lot of like gurus, the fake gurus, and just, I wouldn't say like scammers, like just people that pretend they made a lot of money but they really didn't. And so like I didn't want to waste time, so I did a lot of research, and I found these courses, and it was like 10,000 hours of material. And I was like, okay, so I gave myself like a 5-year plan to do the material, and I thought I'm an exception, just like everybody thinks they're an exception. I'm a smart guy. I'm an architect. I got this. I know how to. I was very good at chess growing up. I was like, oh, my chess skill is gonna translate. This is I'm gonna figure this out faster than the normal people. So, but of course that's not the case. And then I had some examples of traders that were in a similar position of me and became very successful. And the main reason is because they went through all the 10,000 hours of material. So like immediately once I realized that, I was like, okay, I need, and they had no bills, and they lived a life where like they minimized their stress. A lot of these people that were successful were studying stocks while they were in college. They were living in a dorm. They didn't have bills over their head. Their landlord wasn't banging on the door trying to kick them out. Their car bill wasn't due, so I was like, okay, I need to get myself in a position to minimize my expenses, and so I have very little distractions outside of studying the 10,000 hours of material, just like I did in college for architecture. So I realized, okay, so I looked into shared office spaces. There was a shared office space, and I said, okay, if I rent this place for like 300, it was like $300 a month, and I'll just sit there and study the stock market, and I'll live close by and take the subway. So I sold my car. I got my lease ended in my apartment, and slowly I paid down my bills. And was the plan, to live it, to basically live in that office space, the shared office space, study whatever it took, 10, 15, 20 hours a day if I have to. I'll just sit there and study. It's a 24-hour space. and just knock all this material down. And as I studied all the material, you open new rabbit door holes. Rabbit hole. You go down these rabbit holes of like other books and other people that were successful, and then you look at what they have to say. And you take lessons from everything, and this is how you're on your path to mastery. And then so throughout this whole time, I did not make any money. So I supported myself. I found tutoring. Tutoring was a good way to make a tiny bit of money to support myself while I studied. Yeah, there was no social life. There was, I saw myself as an entrepreneur. I know before the podcast I mentioned to you about like Elon Musk and Bezos. I thought of best Jeff Bezos when he was in that office in the '90s, late '90s, with the Amazon spray painted in the back and on a banner, and he's just there grinding. Or Elon Musk and his brother living out of an office when they started PayPal, and they would alternate doing coding and go shower at the YMCA. So I was like, I got to go into this phase. And, it's difficult. That's the difficult part. You're in your 30s. I was in my 30s doing this. Most people in their 30s, they're enjoying their 30s like the sitcom Friends or something. Everyone's cute. But it was not cute. Going the entrepreneur route, you're taking a risk. You're making a move. I'm taking this big pivot in my life. So, like, yeah, it was hardcore. So 2016, that's what I did all the way up to 2020. And it got more intense as it went. So 2016, because you're building habits, and those habits, they get solidified and become a lifestyle. So in the beginning, studying 3 hours a day is really hard, and then 5 hours a day is really hard. Then towards like a year, 2 years in, it's nothing. Now it's just part of my daily routine. And then 2020 happens, stock market goes crazy, COVID stocks go crazy. And, I saw an opportunity there, and I was like, all right, I studied for 3 years now. I got all this knowledge and all this semi-experience. I'm like, this is a once in a decade opportunity. I'm going to take a shot, because if not, I'm going to regret it. And I'm already in my 30s, almost my mid 30s at the time. So I was like, I'm going to take a shot. So I gathered some funds together. I scraped some funds together, which was very difficult, but I made it happen. When you want to make it happen, you make it happen. We're in the best country, the most fertile country and place to start something up, whatever it is, and achieve your dreams. So I scraped the funds together. I had the over PDT account, which is the over pattern day trader rule, over 25K account, and the market was perfect for what I was learning the whole time, which was short selling. The COVID stocks that would go up exponentially and then crash. They would go up in the pre-market at 1 a.m. West Coast, 4 a.m. Eastern, and then by the time the stock market opened, they faded away. Because they would run on hype of like, oh, we have ventilators, we have rubber gloves, we have masks. The stock would go crazy and crash, crash. And they would still be green on the day. They would still finish like up on the day, but like exponentially down from where the big gap up was started. And so right away, that first month in that kind of crazy market, which is not the same anymore, that was a once in a decade opportunity. I did well, and that was 3 years of knowledge compounding to be ready for that. So it wasn't like I just showed up brand new at that time. Like, I had prepared 3 years, and I was ready at the right time. And when the opportunity came, it was good timing. So like, I really think about that. I'm like, okay, if I didn't execute that timing correctly, I would not be here today. It would take a lot longer. I would have found a way to make it. I had I had no turning back. I decided to go the trading route, but the timing was executed well on my part, and I had no choice but to wait. That's another thing, because like most traders, they fail because they want to make money right away. I wasn't like that. I gave myself a 5-year plan, and then by 4 years, I was ready. So,
dude, that is so sick, bro. There's so many things I want to get into with this. Like, a past mentor of mine told me about the aspect of mastering any skill set in the real world takes 10,000 hours. So I love how you basically had a course that was 10,000 hours of training, because people don't realize how much training that is in terms of a certain area. And what I want to get into with this is I want to go back to the start because there's things I want to ask all the way throughout this. But one aspect is you basically went to university, and when you transitioned out of university, you had a ton of debt. And dude, so unfortunate that you had a massive surgery, which probably even brought you more in debt at the time. And I want to kind of get your thoughts about the entire school system in general. And I want to kind of hear from you is like, does the modern day school system set people up for failure with the student loan debts where they're so high when people are coming out, they're kind of forced into basically debt for the rest of their life unless they transition into an entrepreneurial path?
Yeah, I mean, you're asking the guy here that went to school for 10 years. I loved undergraduate school. I went to study abroad. I got cultured. I was a guy that grew up in Miami in a very ignorant environment, let's say, and then school in Miami, it's all Latin people, uh, Europeans, a little bit of everything. So I had that going for me. But when I went to Gainesville, Florida, I went to University of Florida, the Gators in Gainesville, it was like, whoa, it's another world. So I got to meet people from all around the U.S. People from Georgia, from Alabama, New York, California. So and then they all speak differently. Nobody, because I grew up around the Miami people with the Miami accent. I probably still have the Miami accent, and and that was just all I knew. Everybody else spoke was weird. So going to school, it did expand my horizons. I learned how to write better, how to communicate better. That was cool. But is it worth all the debt? Oh man. And I just wanted to escape Miami and the little bubble of Miami. I love Miami, but like the little bubble I was in was very ignorant. And I just liked opening my mind to like different cultures and learning and architecture. So nah man, it's just a trap. So when I went to grad school, I thought, okay, I'm going to grad school architecture. 1,000 people applied, and I'm one of the 20 that got in. I'm studying under the best architect. That was all my focus. But why is it so expensive? Like, man, it's like 6 figures, more than like multiple 6 figures. Let's say, for that, and now in hindsight, I look like when I go to UCLA, I see the kids there. They're going to the like a buffet lunch dining hall, like a resort. They're going to the dorms as like a resort, and they're taking virtual classes. So it's a profitable, it's just meant to milk the profits. And for example, for me, when going to school for 10 years, I didn't have income, and I was always using credit cards on top of the student loans because the student loans are never enough to live off of. The student loans are enough to pay the classes, and they charge a crazy amount for the classes, but to live off of, you're always going to be struggling. So I would use credit cards, and then sometimes they didn't teach me how to do finance, how to manage money or manage my credit cards, how to get a good credit score, and how to develop business credit, and how to form an LLC, and in the future, if I want to have an architecture firm, how to do that. They didn't teach me any of that, but they did teach me how to accumulate loans. And I didn't even know what a mortgage was. Here I am, an architect, and I dated a girl once at the time, and she told me something about a mortgage. I was like, what is a mortgage? I don't even know what that is. And here I am about to get a master's degree in architecture from the best school. And then what do you say? So and then also to get a loan for a car, or for car financing, or even buy a house, I would just get denied. I couldn't even have a $2,000 credit card because I would just get denied.
Dude,
but they'll give me 6 figures of student loans. It doesn't make any sense. Federal loans, so you can't even declare bankruptcy or anything. And I didn't even know what bankruptcy was. I didn't understand anything. So it's just meant to keep you in that loop because they get profit off of this. Every kid every student is a dollar sign to the school system. So and the thing is, when I decided to go the entrepreneur route, I realized, so my resume doesn't matter. All my master's degree doesn't matter because I'm self-employed. I'm doing my own thing. So you don't need college if you really want to do something big. I know, for example, with the Ethereum guy, Vitalik Buterin, I forgot who it was, invested in him not to go to school, so he can spend time doing developing Ethereum. Or all the entrepreneurs, they are like Bill Gates and all that, they dropped out of school so they can focus on what they want to do. So I don't know if the entrepreneur route, like in America, in the capitalist system, we're known for all the biggest inventions and all the biggest companies and all that. So like to do that, to think big, you don't need school for any of it.
Dude, love it. In terms of when you were coming out of school and you had all these bills hitting and you were making the transition into trading, you said that it was basically choosing between trading and real estate. Those were kind of two things that you were going to go into. What was the mindset behind that in terms of going away from this degree that you just got for 10 years in school and switching to like the entrepreneurial journey and choosing between real estate and basically trading? Like, what would be some actionable steps for, say, somebody in high school who's kind of choosing between going into university, or someone who's in university and realizes that they're in this loop that once they get out, like they're just going to have an enormous amount of debt? Do you have any actionable steps in terms of like seeing if the entrepreneurial journey is like right for them?
Okay, so the first thing is, so I had two parents. My mom and my dad were immigrants, so like they didn't know any better. They just did the best job they could, telling that your kids to go to become a doctor, a lawyer, architect, engineer. You can't go wrong with that, right? But that's the old school way. So like the first step is like your parents, they want the best for you, but what are your parents saying? And what time period your parents grow up in? If they're saying, so the first thing is, like, why do you want to go to college? Do you really want to be a doctor? Do you really want to be a lawyer? Architect, like you would think that because I hear all the time people saying, oh, if you're getting a doctor's degree, a lawyer's degree, or an architect degree, you need college. But is it worth it? Like, you get multiple six figures of student loans, like in my case, and then get paid $28 an hour, for a few years until you get licensed, and then you get a 70K salary. I don't know, so so the people, my classmates that were doing architecture, in hindsight now, I kind of like take a case by case basis, and I think of my former class like, oh, so they grew up differently than I did. They didn't take loans. Oh, okay, so they had different ways to finance their education. You know what I mean? It's so like, the first step is like, why do you want to study, and like, are you financially able to pay for the study? You don't have to worry about it. Like, you can just come up with a clean slate after you get the degree, or but yeah, for me, it wasn't the case. I didn't have any money going into it from the beginning. So when I realized, okay, how do I gonna find a solution? Because I'm a type of person where I like to find solutions. I'm not like, so there's a lot of people with student loans. They see themselves as a victim. Oh, it's not my fault. Oh, it's they better wipe out this debt. Oh man. Oh, they have the victim mentality. It's easy to fall into. I had classmates that were, or have seen people do that. But in my case, I didn't even think of that. It never crossed my mind. I was aware that people were doing this, but in my mind, I'm like, I can just come up. What is the solution? Because I'm not gonna wait on somebody to cancel the loans. By the time I'm 60 years old and with the gray hair and wrinkles, now they cancel the loans, and like, I'm not gonna do that. So I said, okay, how can I turn this negative into a positive? I'm like, okay, I've heard the stories of like my mom's side of the family leaving Cuba on a plane out of there, escaping communism with the clothes on their back, and and then like my grandma still has like a wanted sign in Cuba for leaving, being a traitor, and they were able to start fresh in the United States and put my mother my aunt through private school, and then they got educated and I got educated. So like there's no excuse. So I was like, okay, what is the solution? You know, I don't need to escape the country with a suitcase and like to find a solution like my grandma did. So I was like, all right, real estate. I looked into real estate because it was just a high income job, or a high income, career. And then if done right. And then the stocks came secondary. I kind of fell with the rabbit hole of stocks after looking at real estate. It was introduced to me. But real estate, I understood it's like it's a lot of performance driven, and I'm like, you know what? I think I'm more like that. I'm a performance driven person. Like I want to get paid on my performance, and there's like unlimited ceiling based on your performance. So like instead of waiting for or like getting a salary or getting little increments of paycheck to paycheck until like something's paid off, I didn't want to do that. I wanted like my performance, because I know like I have drive, I have ambition. So like, it depends. So if you want to go the entrepreneur route, yeah, if you have that drive and ambition, the entrepreneur, you have big ideas, big thinking, and you have to be okay with risk. Some people, the word risk, they cringe at it, So I don't cringe at the word risk. It's like no risk, no reward, and it's like all calculated risk, calculated timing, like I mentioned earlier. So it's just like, you know, taking some risk, perform everything's based on your performance, and doing what everyone doesn't want to do, and finding solutions. This is the beauty about being an entrepreneur, so
Dude, all this is gold. I swear the majority of my friends that are high level business people come from immigrant families. And when you see very successful people online too, I genuinely think that they're just built different in terms of the perception and like the perspective that you're able to have, like coming from an immigrant family, of all the things that you said. Like, I don't have to go through the crazy struggles that my family did. All I have to do is overcome these problems, which are financial problems, which are way easier to overcome than life-threatening problems.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, man. I heard some crazy stories. So my grandmother escaped Cuba with my mom and my aunts and my grandfather, right? They left Cuba in 1959 after the revolution, like shortly after. And if you left, you're considered a traitor, and it's like death by firing squad.
No.
And yeah, and then they had like these like patrols on every block, and people would tell the patrols, "Oh, I think they're thinking of leaving. I think they don't like communism. I think," and then they would take you in, and then they're like, most likely you would go to firing squad. And yeah, it's crazy, man. It's communism. And then so like my grandma was able to get a tourist visa to go to Miami, because there was still some flights going back and forth, and they left with suitcases, like, because no one could know that they're leaving for good, so they pretended they're going on vacation. And then and they ended up never going back, and getting asylum and all that. But like it was some serious communism stuff going on. And my dad left Iran, and Iran was another situation, so like I didn't have it as bad as them, so like for me it was like, and I heard all these stories growing up, you know what I mean? I heard them all.
Yeah.
Dinner table galore. And then on top of that, in Miami growing up, the neighborhood I was in, it was all a lot of Cubans, and the Cubans, like I would go to dinner at a friend's house, and their parents would tell me all their stories. And then I went to high school, and the teachers were like Cuban American, and Cubans that they come from like similar background. They would reiterate the stories. And I was like, man, I don't have it as bad as these. I'm so lucky to be born here, and like and live and go to Disney World and stuff, so in Florida. And so yeah, I never had that in me to be a complainer or just to be depending on someone else to figure out the solution for me. I was proactive from the beginning, and I think that's a good quality to have, just being like an entrepreneur or setting out to achieve something big. Just that drive, and just like you're not backing down, and this is the path you're gonna take, and you're gonna do it no matter what.
100%, man. I think having a positive framework around problems and successes in life is such a huge component to just persevering through really any massive failure. In terms of when you started out in trading, you hinted at how you were like most people at the beginning of, even though you got the 10,000 hours course, basically, that you were kind of searching for that fast money and thinking that you're the exception to the rule. It's great because it's a very relatable story to probably a lot of people listening, in terms of probably trying something out, probably seeing something on TikTok or Instagram or social media that's like really quick money, because that's all social media is right now, is it's just showcasing the absolute successes and not showcasing any of the failures. And so it's very easy to get caught up in this very like fast money mentality. And so what was like the transitional period in your mindset from that fast money mentality in terms of switching over, where I actually need to put in 10,000 hours of training over the next 5 years, and I know I'm going to be successful at the end of it? And I'm sure you probably talk about this in the Friendly Bears podcast, because I know a huge component of trading is the mental side of things, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So, at first, so I grew up in Miami. I spent a lot of my 20s in Miami, going to South Beach and going to the nightlife. And even at one point, I worked at the club so I can go to the club, because, 20-year-old guys, it's very hard to go in the club when you're broke. So I figured, I'll just promote at the club and let me in. So this is Club Live when it first opened. And then I was like, oh, great, I cracked the code. It can be broke, but as long as I work at the club, it's cool. Now I can go there and everybody, so like you're cool in that atmosphere. So, and then when I finished grad school and all that, I was like, I can make a lot of money trading, and then like I can have a nice Lambo. It does cross your mind. And I'm thinking all the fun times I had in Miami at Live. I'm like, I can go to Live and buy. I told myself at first, okay, my first $10,000 day, I'm going to go to Club Live again. I haven't been there in so long. I'm going to go to that's $10,000 one day. I could do it. And it's just like, it's going to become a lifestyle, so, and then, it crossed my mind momentarily, like a day, like one day, man. And then, because, you see it all over the internet. And then quickly I found, I took a loss that day too. I was a red day for me, when starting out. And I'm like, yeah, it's not gonna work, man. I got a long way to go. I need to make like $1 million. First, I got to clear out these student loans. And first I got to get profitable. Then I got to clear out the student loans, and like to take this seriously. Like there was like 4 or 5 traders that I was emulating their trajectory of how they started and where they are at the moment. And I was like, if I want to be like these guys, it's gonna take grinding like they grinded. It's gonna take a lot. I gotta complete all these webinars, all these courses. I'm gonna have to probably read a bunch of stuff, a bunch of books, audiobooks, podcasts. Like, Elon Musk wasn't partying the first few years. Jeff Bezos wasn't partying the first few years. So I was like, quickly. So now I was like, all right, in order for me to succeed, I gotta realize this as soon as I can, which is gonna be 5 to 10 year plan. And the sooner I give myself that and realize that this is gonna be a long term thing and there's no turning back. What's the ironic part is you actually accomplish it a lot faster once you have the correct mindset of the long term. So having a 5 to 10 year plan, actually, if you sincerely have that in your mind, it's usually going to be a lot sooner than that. So like, for example, today, someone reached out to me and asked me about the office I traded in Puerto Rico, which in Trade Space, I traded over there. And I told him, yeah, go over there and sign up for a year and just treat it like college. Yeah. Even take out a loan and go there. It's just college. You're not trying to make money. It's like you're taking a loan for college. Oh, he told me he's going to go to college. And I said, you just go there for a year, treat it like college. And he's like, oh, but is there a faster way to get profitable? You think that's the fastest way I can get profitable? And I said, bro, listen, man, to get to profitability, you're going to have to you got to think like 2 to 3 years. You can't even think about it. You just got to get the education first. He's like, oh, but will it make it faster? I was like, man, listen, even if you study 10 hours a day for 12 months, it's not going to be enough. And if you study 20 hours a day for 6 months, it's still not going to be enough. It's just the way it is. So it's just going to take a few years. You got to see the cycles of the market. I didn't tell him all that. I just gave him a short, brief thing. But you know what I mean? It's just like, I'm just so over talking to these people with the wrong mindset. It doesn't it's annoying at this point. But yeah, it's just, you got to watch all the market cycles. You got to watch all the different patterns perform every day. You got to get used to all the platforms. You got to know all the intricacies of all the brokers, all the charting, reading, the algorithms. It's like so much. It just takes a lot of time. And the first 2 years, even I studied, I think I told you, from 2016 to 2020. I had initial success in 2020, but looking back, I didn't really know that much. I knew even after all that studying, it was the market that allowed my sloppiness to work out. I couldn't get away with that today. Like I would have to know a lot more and be a lot more meticulous than I was back then. It's just like, it's just the way it is, man. It's hard, It's hard. You want to compete because as retail, we're competing against people with a lot more money, unlimited amount. We're competing against hedge funds, against banks, against institutions, against foreign operators. Like I cover a lot of these in my podcast about like boiler rooms in mainland China that are there pumping stocks, and they call them market cap maintenance firms, which I think you mentioned crypto. They have this in crypto a lot since it's unregulated. So you're competing against all this wilderness of savagery, So like you got, how are you gonna deal with that? It's like you knowledge is power, and it's like how do you get the knowledge? You stick around, You got to stick around. So that's the hardest part is sticking around. If you can stick around and study consistently for 2 years, you're gonna make it. If you get into the urge of getting a Lambo or of going to the club and buying bottles with having a $10,000 days and forcing the trade and then you lose big and win big and all this bad toxic behavior, it's not gonna work out. It's not gonna work out. So it's just, yeah.
Dude, I think the audience is going to be getting a ton of value of this entire podcast. I can already see a ton of short form clips being edited from this, so this is sick. With something that you said really resonated with me, where I never went to university because our business was fairly successful, thankfully, like in high school, where I was able to make the decision not to go to university. But it was actually a gift in the perspective of where I thought of things, of every single failure that I made in high school, outside of high school with the business, was like my tuition into university. And you even said that, and I'm like, shit, that resonates with me so much. Like it's like you're paying for the school of business when you're going into it, and you could pay coaches to like get advanced past that level. You can get mentors to get you past that level where you're learning from their mistakes instead of learning from your own mistakes. And so I think that perspective of not coming, and this is something that I do have about school, is that I actually just created a video about this, of where school kind of sets you up in this mindset of you're either getting 100 on every single assignment or test, or you're failing. Like if you get marks off of assignments, then you're not doing a good job and you're not on the right path. And I feel like it kind of sets people up in the real world where if you fail at all in anything, like then you're on the wrong path and you're doing something wrong. When like failure is inevitable in any single business, even if you have a job at a place and you're not even on an entrepreneurial journey, you're going to fail at some point. And like you just got to take that as a learning experience and under the chin. And what you said was really good in terms of like just sticking with whatever you're doing and consistently learning on it. And I want people to be able to resonate with like, because anybody can say like, oh, I stuck with it. But dude, you stuck with it just with the little we've talked about before this and what I know of you. But like, dude, can you go into like 2016, like sticking with it? Like, dude, you told me some crazy stuff before this podcast of like during your days of trading and learning, you learn for like 10 hours a day, sleep at the office pretty much, and then go to Skid Row in Los Angeles and shower. Like, dude, I need to hear about this, because
this was a secret for a long time. Only people that are close to me with trading know about it, because it's Skid Row, man. You know what's funny is like you're in Puerto Rico. I know people all over I speak to. Everybody knows Skid Row. It's like, oh my God, Skid Row. What do you know about Skid Row, Luke?
Dude, Skid Row's like, you don't go there. Like you literally don't go there. If you accidentally come to Skid Row in Los Angeles, like you better roll up your windows and like get out of there as fast as possible. That's what I knew about Skid Row.
Yeah, Skid Row is crazy, man. It's so during the pandemic, so I'm at the US Bank Tower right now. It's a financial district, clean area, beautiful restaurants in the area, rooftops, great. But three, no, like 4 blocks away. So let's say you got Grand, I'm talking about the street. So Grand Street, Olive Street, Hill Street, Broadway, Spring, Main, boom, Skid Row. So like 4 or 5 blocks, which is these are short blocks in downtown. So it's like less than 10 minute walk. You're in Skid Row, straight shot, no nothing, just straight down the street. And during the pandemic, so 2020 came. This is the frustrating time because I had just started to get profitable. I had and like I was dedicating so much time. I had a good um routine. My routine was flawless, sick. I had just started to hit my stride. And then the pandemic hits and I'm doing well in the pandemic. I'm like, okay, this is I'm just starting, like I'm profitable now during this period. And then but like I'm scared that they're gonna close the building down and I'm studying and working out of my office. And I had just upgraded to this same exact office. It was all bare walls. And I was trading out of a tiny little tablet, Microsoft Surface Pro with the mouse and a side screen. And I'm here making $2,000-3,000 a day, sometimes 4, 5, 6,000. And it's just like sometimes less, sometimes more. But like overall, I'm doing pretty well. And I'm leaving it in the accounts. I'm growing my accounts. I'm putting some in for backup accounts. So I'm here. I'm doing well. I'm reaching my dreams. But at the same time, there's all this uncertainty in the air of the pandemic. They might close down the building. There's some riots down the street. This is downtown LA, so it's like epicenter of craziness in the pandemic. Things are boarded up. People are doing all types of crazy stuff. Helicopters flying around, tear gas. But I'm here in the building, and I'm working. I'm here working, and I'm spending a lot of time here because sometimes I felt like if I left the office, they might close the doors down and I can't get back in. And I'm here making money, because this market volatility. And in my apartment at the time in Koreatown that I was renting like per day or per week, I forgot, per week and per day. They didn't have Wi-Fi there. So like I can't even take my Surface Pro. So like I'm like, all right, this is do or die, man. And I have no money at this time. It's all in my account. So I'm like, I gotta be here. So I sleep in the office, but then eventually, after a day and a half, you're like, man, I think I gotta shower, man. So like, and like they closed down all the gyms. Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, not to get into politics, but he shut down all the gyms and he's in like the wineries having a good old time. So like, and I'm here, like I'm like, damn, bro, like closed the gym because the gym was like it was right across the street. I just go there, work out, and I shower and I come back. I don't even have to go to my apartment. That I was cool with that. But then they shut down the gyms, and I'm like, oh man, where am I gonna shower? Where am I gonna shower? I go so like going back to Koreatown and back. That's like way too long. So I was like, all right, man. I guess we're doing Skid Row. I guess we're done. All right, gotta get myself mentally prepared for this. I don't even know. So I'm googling it, where to go. I even asked the cops. It's like, man, I'm not gonna go walk around aimlessly in Skid Row and knock on doors for where to shower. I don't know Skid Row, so I found a place online. I called them up, and they like, yeah, we're open, and they have like a 1 hour period where they clean the showers. So I was like, okay, I gotta go there. So I went there at like I had a routine to go there like at 11 p.m. So 11 p.m. I would go there, shower. I'd be out of there by like 11:30. I walk back, and then I'm ready for the pre-market open, which is here in the West Coast at 1 a.m. So I'm ready at my desk like at 12:30 a.m. midnight or something like that, ready for the pre-market open. So I had this routine. I did this for like 3 or 4 months. I'll go to Skid Row, and it's not just So they just cleaned the shower, so that was good. So I timed it perfect, and then I would wait in line. Sometimes there'll be like a few people ahead of me, and that was the risk. It's like you never know what can happen there. So like I would leave my wallet in the office. I would leave my phone in the office. I'll go there with no phone. I'll leave my Apple Watch at the time here, credit cards, everything, and I'll go there just with the plastic bag with my clothes, toothbrush, whatever, and I'll go there. And then by the way, I shaved my head bald because like all the barbershops are closed, so I'm a shaved head bald guy going straight there, and like, the security guards they still know me there. I bet if they're still there, they probably still are there. But they used to call me the Russian assassin because like I just was like, we'll go straight in with the shaved head guy, straight in, straight out, and just get the hell out of there. I did not want to stick, and like they knew like I'm not like on drugs or anything, like why is this guy here? Is very very they were quite they were wondering what is this guy doing here, and but yeah, those showers were dirty, Brent, man. It was nasty. And like, it smelled nasty, the whole area. You walk by all these tents and like, sometimes people yell at you, sometimes they don't, and like you're just trying to mind your business. The one thing about LA, as crazy as it is, if you mind your business and keep your head on a swivel, you'll be all right, for the most part. It's like so, but it was just so dirty and like I dreaded going there every day because like it's too crazy. One time I saw someone get shot out front, and it's just it opens your eyes to a lot of things. So like for example, the homeless industry is it's an industry. Like the security guard is getting a salary, the social worker is getting a salary. They got all this people who are making a living off this. So it's a nonprofit, but they don't want to stop the party of this homelessness because then a lot of people are going to be out of jobs. So so I have real experience being in that world and observing it on a daily basis. So like I think my opinions are valid, but a lot of people think they have opinions. Like for example, when I was in UCLA in Westwood, people would think they know the answers to homelessness and stuff, but they're in Westwood and Beverly Hills, and you can't fathom. You got to go there and see for yourself what's going on. So I saw that. That's one benefit. But it's just grind mode was on 24/7. And I was just like, some days I would go and wait in that line, and I was up $5,000, $4,000, and I'll wait in the line to shower. Nobody knew, And then I was just straight back going to the computer and waiting for the open at 1 a.m. and executing the open. That's how focused I was, and I was like, so it's like that was my mentality back then, and it hasn't changed. Tell you the truth, I'm still as focused, laser focused as ever, and it comes from that, making a decision that I'm never turning back, that I'm going this route, I'm taking this risk, and I'm getting it done. So,
dude, that is dialed in, bro. So you were sleeping in your office for efficiency, basically, working all day in your office, shaved your hair because there was no barbers open, showered at Skid Row because there were no other showers available.
Yeah. That was it, man. The other day I posted on Instagram a photo of my passport with the bald head. It's like it doesn't look like me, man. I'm like, God, that guy's, and you could tell by the look in the face that like I had determination in that. Even in the passport photo where like I'm just looking at the camera, you can tell like that was in me, at that time. And by the way, I went to get that passport photo with like barely any. It cost like $200. It was like so painful for me to pay that. But I was like, man, in the future, I'm gonna travel, and I need this. So I'm gonna travel. This is gonna like, I was barely profitable at that point, but I was like, I got this. I got to make this expense for this passport because it might take a long time to get it back. So, but it was with that bald head, and I still have that photo as a memory. Like, wow, that's that guy. That guy was hardcore. I'm proud of that guy.
So, dude, you make 2, 3, 4 grand one day, and then that same day you're going to Skid Row. Like,
yeah, but
was there really no other options for showering? What about
no? There was no other options, man.
Had?
So Planet Fitness, I got all the options here. So Planet Fitness across the street closed. What do you call it? Gold Gym closed. LA Fitness closed. 24-hour Fitness closed. Actually went out of business. Equinox closed. The gym, this building has a gym on the 54th floor. Closed. That would piss me off. I'm like, man, I'm paying for this office rental and it includes a gym and I can't even go to the gym. Like, damn, that would be the solution right there. And then so that was closed. I looked at Airbnb and I was like, man, am I gonna pay $100 a night for a freaking place just to shower? And I gotta go out of my way. So like, I found one Booking.com local hostel, but that was like far away. I went there once to check it out. I was like, man, please be the solution. And then I was like, this is too far. It's not worth it. And then at that point, I was already used to going to Skid Row. Now it's like I already
It's like
broke
a
the ice.
routine.
Yeah, it's like now I know I just walk there, take off all my watch, whatever. I know what to expect. I know exactly what to do, and like wait in line exactly at 11 o'clock. And now it's already I already what. So like there was no option. And then eventually the YMCA decided to open up their showers to help alleviate some of the homeless to shower. And that YMCA is literally on back of this building. And I went to the YMCA and like they were only open a week. And I was like, oh my God, back to Skid Row. Here we go again. So then so I tried the YMCA showers. I tried the hostel shower. I tried an Airbnb shower. It was too far, too far, too far. My own apartment I had that I would go every now and then to get, rest and relax, and pay by the day or by the week. But like if I paid by the week, I spend most of the time in here anyway. So it's like, and in the beginning you're trying to minimize expenses, like as much as possible, like an entrepreneur. So yeah, man, it was really the only option. Trust me, I went every single option. I did not want to go there, man. I did not want to go there. One time, like, people would like, what do they call it? Defecate themselves. All, man, I seen it all, man. I seen it all, everything, I've seen it all. I can't even mention it on the podcast, what I've seen. But
Oh my
but there was
god.
really no option, man. But I'll tell you what, as soon as I made some money, October, the patterns I was trading, they kind of fizzled away in the pre-market, which was 1 a.m. to 6 a.m., 6:30 a.m. So what I did was, you know what? I was like, I'm gonna go travel, and when I travel, I can go to hostels or Airbnbs or whatever, and I can shower there and live in a normal bed and stuff like that and explore. So I went to South America for 2 months and went all over there. So like that's what I'm saying. So that period was like May 2020 to October. So May, June, July, August, September. Yeah, it was like 4 months. And then I went to go travel, and then like so it was all worth it. You go to Brazil, go to Argentina. No, I went to Chile, Peru, Colombia, and like money goes a long way over there. So like even though I didn't make like a crazy amount of money, it was enough to enjoy traveling and living. Like I didn't need to go. There was no more Skid Row, but and then when I came back, it was fine. You know what I mean? There was no more Skid Row, but like yeah, for that period of time, man, there was no choice. There was no choice. You know, uh, spend money on a hotel. I don't know. It's not worth it. Hotels are expensive these days. It's not $40 in LA. It's $100. So and you're trying to minimize expenses. I could, I need to reinvest my money into like better equipment if I could, or better services, platforms, or tools, or just put it in my account. If I have edge, I need to be reinvesting my profits. So why would I? That's what I think I saw. So the pandemic actually benefited me. I minimized all my expenses. Even shaving my head bald was like less of a distraction. So I got the most out of, just the focus mentality and the grind mode, and also the opportunity the pandemic presented. You know, I was able to capitalize, man. So
Dude, yeah, COVID just in general allowed people to either be more victims of their circumstances or use it as an opportunity where you have no other options besides being 100% dialed and focused in. And so I think there were two types of people that came out of that situation. And one thing I want to get into is you talked about traveling to a place that was kind of lower cost. And I think this is a huge component for like people who are just getting into the entrepreneurial space. And I'm definitely an advocate that people should honestly get out of the US into a lower cost of living. If you're doing anything in the digital landscape getting started, it kind of like forces you to make it out because you're going off and being by yourself, and then it also allows you to lower your cost of living, and then it's kind of just like very motivational, like seeing a different culture. And so would you like advise other people who are starting their entrepreneurial journey to travel outside of the US?
yeah, man, you got to have that perspective, So I've been all over the South America. You see the way, life is over there. When I was in Puerto Rico, I did a trip to Haiti to go see the Citadel over there. And I was in Haiti in 2010 also, after the earthquake, doing like volunteer work as an architect. So like I had those experiences of how people live outside, how lucky we are just to be born in the US, to have an American passport, man. So yeah, that gives you a perspective, just like when I was saying about my parents coming from other places, like to find a solution and not be a complainer or just not be a victim mindset. Because like it's hard or almost impossible to accomplish anything big if you're have a victim mindset. It's so like I remember one time I was in Brazil and I stayed at a hostel for one night. I just wanted to see what it was. No, it wasn't a hostel. It was an Airbnb actually in the favelas in Rio, and actually it has the best views of Rio, which is in the mountains, and it's accessible. It was cool. It was only for one night though, but and I'm having a conversation with the people that are staying there. There's like someone else staying in the other room next to me, and they're from Brazil, from the favelas, and I'm here talking about like life in the U.S. and like how political, people are not getting along at the time, this and that. And then I caught myself almost immediately, and I'm like, "What? This person basically doesn't have anything, And I'm here. This is inappropriate for me to talk like this, This is. And the person was smiling, like they just didn't understand. They're like, you're just, So I'm, yeah, you. It's good to see, to be thankful and grateful for what you have, instead of like falling into, um, the conditioning of like social media and like and what's going on TV or whatever, what you see all the time and hear. It's like that's not real life a lot of times. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's you don't want to fall into the like into just that the bad mindsets. So traveling does open up your mind, and so you can see the bigger picture of life and like be thankful for what you have, and realize like how much opportunity there is in the US. Like the US is like the land of second chances, third chances even. You can reinvent yourself, recreate yourself. You can have all these student loans or have debt or even bankruptcy and come back to life like the phoenix from the ashes a few times in over a lifetime. And it's like that's not the case in other places. So yeah, traveling, man, traveling really opens up your eyes about that. And it's like, wow, there is an element of luck to life, which is like, the luck is where you're born or where you are currently. It's like if you're in here, so in the US, so yeah, traveling is huge, man. It's huge.
Yeah, dude, sick. And yeah, it definitely is a matter of luck in terms of where you're born and like being so fortunate born in like North America. But like no matter where you're born, no matter what circumstances you're growing up in, like there's somebody who probably has it worse than you, and you can either use it as basically a reason why not to do something, looking at that side, like the half glass empty type thing, or you can use it as a reason to persevere and take the next level. In terms of fast forwarding, David, in terms of like, dude, crazy come up story. That's absolutely nuts. You started crushing it kind of in 2020, but you kind of pulled back saying that that was a component of like how good the markets were at the time and that you're even more educated now. But now, like, extremely successful trader right now, you are running 2 podcasts. And I kind of want to go into the 2 podcasts a bit so that anybody from the audience that wants to keep listening to you like that, they know where they can go basically. So like the Friendly Bear podcast, that's specifically on the financial side of things. And before this podcast, you told me about how there's so much content on there. If somebody went from the first video all the way till the end, last video on the Friendly Bear, and we'll link it down in wherever you're watching this. But if they went through that entire process where it's mainly focused on trading and watched every single piece of content, they'd be pretty damn good in terms of like a starting place with things with trading. Is that right?
That's correct, man. So with trading, it's like not every single second of the podcast is gonna relate, but if repetition, I was told this a long time ago, like in the beginning of trading, repetition creates millionaires, and to listen over and over the same concepts, and the concepts broken down in different ways, and little nuggets of information that sprinkled all about through all the podcasts here and there. Yeah, that makes you money or saves you a lot of money. Saves you from losing a lot of money or helps you make money. So, and that's all real material. There's nothing fluff about it. There's no entertainment, There's entertainment in if you're it's my kind of entertainment, it's like, making money entertainment.
Yeah.
But like if you're serious, yeah, it's all there. If you listen to all 350 episodes and like you go down the rabbit holes like I did, the guests I interview, if you relate to one, if one clicks more then you investigate that person and what they have to say. And if I mention a book and you like the book and it clicks, like you can resonate with it, you relate it to a trade or a chart, then you get the audiobook and listen to it 2.0 speed. And then you're like, now you're in the game of learning. Now you're in the game of learning. So yeah, if you listen to all of them, and what's crazy is that it's out there, it's free. And it's an audio. So like when I was studying, not only did I look at video, but like when I go wash dishes or go to the gym, I'll listen to the audio. So I designed this podcast to be like that. So whoever wants to learn has no excuse. It's on YouTube. And if you can't afford a YouTube subscription to put the phone off and listen to it still, you can go on Apple Podcasts. And if you don't have an Apple Podcast, there's a Spotify. And it's like, so there really is no excuse. So it's attracted a lot of the people who are the few people that have listened to all the episodes. I know who they are because they reached out to me and they asked me questions and I answered them like, wow, okay, this person really did it. And you got my respect. And not only that, I can see you succeeding. You have a really higher probability of succeeding. And I want to be there in the journey. I want to see that person succeed. Even though there is a chance they won't succeed because trading is hard, there's a very high probability that now that person has turned the corner because they understand the dedication it takes, and they see what I see, and they understand what I'm saying, my message throughout all the podcasts, which is you gotta listen to all of them. Now, yeah, if you listen to all of them, it's gonna take you a while. There's a lot of podcasts now, but yeah, you're gonna be well on your way. Yeah, for sure.
How much, David, in the Friendly Bear podcast, how much of it is contextual information in terms of time? Like this is something I was always interested in terms of training, specifically for financial markets, is that like I feel like the training now would be very different than the training in an extreme bull run, say if you go back to like 2019, 2020 type thing. And so when you had podcasts from the beginning, were you drawing references to trades that you were making at that current time? And how would that be applicable to like the current markets?
Well, everything is timeless, man. Everything is timeless. I have a chart right here of Tulip Mania. I have I studied history, the South Sea bubble, the 1920s. I get reminded of the 1920s every day when I walk down the street. This is all 1920s buildings over here of the bubble, the roaring 20s.
Dude, talk about Tulip Mania, because I heard about that story and this would be a great TikTok video. Talk about what is Tulip Mania?
So Tulip Mania was the Dutch tulip craze in the 1600s. So the tulips were worth more than a house or worth more than a mansion during that time. And then it just was like this. It's a tulip it's just a flower that dies. It withers and dies. And the tulips, they were able to get the genes of the tulips and create different colors. And there was like this bubble of supply and demand. Okay, you have a certain color tulip, but it just dies. It's just a flower, so it really has no use except beauty. And so the tulip was worth more than a mansion at one point. People just bought it. It just became this craze in Denmark, around that area, Amsterdam, and all that stuff. So tulips went crazy, and then all of a sudden, one person died from eating a tulip. Thought it was an onion, ate the tulip and died, and and then that caused it to crash. So that was like the beginning of the end, the crash. That's what got everybody to panic and to crash, which doesn't make any sense. Why? This is like there's a book called Incredible Delusions and Popular Delusions and the Madness of Crowds. So it's like the crowds are always just human nature, man. It's fear and greed, and just like people, they get excited and they fear certain things, and it's just like the crowd is always what you don't want to follow as a trader. So it also in the South Sea bubble. There was another bubble before that, and in the 1500s. And Isaac Newton got caught in this bubble. And Isaac Newton has a quote saying, "I can calculate the patterns of the stars, but I cannot understand the madness of men." So like the same thing with Tulip Mania. It's just the madness of men, the madness of the crowd. You guess people get sucked into it, just like we saw it again. The Roaring Twenties. That's one example, and then a crash, 29 crash. We saw it again in during the pandemic, the AMC, GME, the meme stock bubble. Everybody thinks you just buy and hold, buy the dip. Then, eventually that comes to an end. So it's like this behavior comes over and over, and like the people's behavior never changes. It's just like the human nature stays the same with of people. So like whenever I see like pick photos of the people of like 1920s and stuff, when I go to the hotels around here, the Biltmore, for example, across the street, they have it all over the walls. And I tell like my friends when I bring them there, I'm like, look at those people. They're just like us. They have the same emotions. They have fear, greed, excitement, but they just wear funny clothes. It's the same as us. They're just wearing funny clothes. So it's like Tulip Mania. It happened. A version of that happened in crypto. A version of that happens in the stock market all the time. You see stock go parabolic and crash for no reason. People get excited, and so it's like, yeah, man. It's I'm constantly reminded of that.
I saw a quote of back when the crypto market was booming, and it was a quote saying, when we're at the top of the crypto market, when pictures, drawings are being sold by Justin Bieber for the price of a house.
That's crazy, right? So NFTs. When I was in Puerto Rico, my friend took me to a party. Traders and
Yeah,
crypto people, whatever, hanging
huge
out.
in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, huge. And NFTs was booming at that time, and I was shorting NFT stocks, but I was ignorant on what an NFT was. I didn't even know what it was. And the trader next to me, his name's Mike. He knows who he is if he's listening. He told me, "Yeah, NFTs. Yeah, that's just a JPEG, bro. It's just a JPEG." And I was like, "I don't understand JPEG. Like this is like when NFTs came out, and I'm trading stocks. I'm like, yeah, that sounds ridiculous. I'm just gonna short it. This company says they want to do an NFT now, and then so the stocks companies, they would say like now they're saying, oh, we're doing AI. Back then it was like a press release would be, we're going into the NFT business. Oh, we're gonna have an NFT. And then the stock would go crazy, and then you short it, and with that game plan of it's his hype. It's based off the hype. And so, anyways, I go to this party in Puerto Rico, and somebody's there is talking about nonstop about NFTs, and they were like drinking, kind of drunk, a little bit tipsy. And then I said, "Oh, NFTs." I'm just ignorant. I'm not trying to be a smart ass or anything. I said, "Oh yeah, it's like a JPEG, right?" And he got so mad, so mad. He wanted to fight, and they had to hold him back. And then my friend's like, "Man, my friend that I was with is a big stock trader. He didn't know what NFTs were either. He's like, "Man, David, bro, I can't bring you out here, man. Like, what are you doing? These are people that live in my building and stuff." And I was like, "I don't know, bro. I just told him it's like a JPEG. I thought." Then I told my friend, "Bro, NFT, this is like a JPEG. So it's like you can take a screenshot of it. I don't understand it." And then my friend, he was still mad. He's like, "Man, I can't bring David out to any of these parties again. Like, they had to hold that guy back. His drink spilled. Like he was like."
Dude,
and I don't know. He probably lost a lot of money because, yeah. But like now I know what an NFT is because I mean, I tried my best to understand it, and I had people on the podcast come and explain it to me, that's another thing the podcast has been great for. If I don't understand something, I invite someone on. They can explain it to me like a credible person. And now I know what it was, but back then I didn't know what it was. So I could understand why if that guy was like drunk and he had a lot of money invested in NFTs, was a big believer in it, yapping nonstop about it. Then I just come out of the blue and like, yeah, it's like a JPEG. He got so mad. Yeah.
Dude, that is jokes, man. I could totally see that in terms of somebody who's so invested in the crypto space. Like just that pissing them off so much. That's hilarious.
Yeah. Like he must have been really big invested. And to be in Puerto Rico for NFTs, because he probably made some money off NFTs too at that time.
For
Everybody
sure,
was
dude,
making
people
money.
were making unbelievable amounts of money off of NFT. Well, the entire crypto market in general.
Yeah. This was like 2021, might have been mid 2021. Yeah, the height. I think it was like the height of NFTs.
Did you hear about that huge gold and forex trading account that got called out for being a scam, and then they locked all of everybody's money? I forget the name of the trading platform.
No, but I know FTX is a
Oh,
scam.
FTX.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
not that.
FTX was a huge one. The crypto side of things. There was one in the gold trading market. Uh, it was a huge one. In terms of the podcasts that you have, like what kind of made you want to go into the podcasts and kind of deliver that content? Like it seems like you started up two ones, like the Friendly Bear, and then the other one, Macro Jabber,
Yeah.
which is kind of like going over more broad stuff, financial things relating internationally, and like you even talked about how you do like entertainment side of things on there too. And
Yeah.
so, what made you do both those podcasts?
Okay, so the first one, Friendly Bear, I started that one when I was at Trade Space in Puerto Rico, and there was a lot of traders, and I wanted some traded options, some crypto, some NFT, some. So I was like, what better place? And I was a big fan of podcasts. I listened to like Chat with Traders. I was just on Chat with Traders like a month ago. It's incredible, um, incredible experience after being a fan for so long. So, but like, so I was a big podcast guy. And for example, one of my favorite podcasts was Valuetainment at the time. I followed Patrick Bet David's journey since like 2017. And so I was like, what better place to start a podcast than here? And I had no idea how to do it. But I spoke it into fruition. I was like, I told the traders next to me, hey guys, if I do a podcast, I'm going to interview you guys. I'm going to start this podcast called The Friendly Bear. What do you guys think? And they're like, yeah, we'll do it. I want to be interviewed. They thought it was cool. So I was like, all right, now I don't know how I'm going to do this. I was like, but I'm going to do it. So I walked over to Best Buy in San Juan by the mall over there, the Americas Mall.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's a Best Buy around
the
there. You
San
know
Juan
where it
Mall.
is.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I went there. I got the most expensive mic they had. It was like $100, $150. And I walked back to the trade space. I put it there, and I was like, all right, let me figure this out. So I Googled how to start a podcast, signed up for this thing called Buzzsprout. It puts all the podcasts in RSS feed everywhere. And just in a few hours, I had everything laid out for a podcast. And I'm like, I felt comfortable and not to just interview them, So I started with first couple interviews, and I was like, man, I'm gonna learn a lot doing this. That's gonna help my trading. So I just have more interviews, and I'm up 200 grand when I start my first podcast. So like I'm not just like someone that likes a newbie, So but I had a long way to go in order to increase my learning, with trading. So I just was on this quest for knowledge, just inviting people, and then like the more you put yourself out there and the more track record you have of like yourself out there, more people are going to get attracted to it. And I had a few traders to start out with that were credible in the beginning that helped me get more people. So it's just a snowball effect. And then by like episode 100 you get in the groove, and then 200, and then 300. Now you have a whole reputation. People know you better than you know yourself because they watch the podcast so much. And then, so like, I've attracted a lot of dedicated people, a really sick network of friends through the podcast. And now I can do like events and speak at events and stuff, and like have a community. So like, that Friendly Bear podcast, there's always going to be, I'm going to always keep doing it and keep networking and growing it little by little, but it's never going to be like mainstream, because like not everybody is dedicated enough to be a professional trader, or, have the mindset of like being increasing knowledge with trading, and having, is going to be a journey, so like it's not, and it's very niche. But it is always gonna. I love the podcast. It's like one of the best things I've ever done. But then so I decided, okay, now that I know how to create podcasts. I know lighting now. I know camera. I know I have these mics. And I'm making money trading. I can reinvest it and start another podcast and do it bigger. Let's aim for a bigger goal. Let's make this goal more mainstream. There's a lot of topics that I always wanted to cover, like the homelessness in LA, for example, or traveling or history like Tulip Mania or like economics or just the stuff in China going on, the just world events, world news, and basically what the podcast that I love the most, which is the Valuetainment podcast. I was like, you know what? That is a good goal. Like I saw them develop. I can model my podcast after that. And it's so like the same way I started from scratch, the Friendly Bear, I got the microphone and Googled. Now I have all that compounded knowledge of podcasting that I can do Macro Jabber now. And then it was crazy. It all comes full circle because this same office that I was sleeping in and walking a few blocks away to go to Skid Row, I was able to develop it. You can't see it here, but I have a really cool studio. All the panels, I got the really nice couches, the mics, the lighting, this neon sign. So like I was able to really, it's just like time, like just over time, you just improving 1% a day, 1%. It's like snowball effect, So like, yeah. So Macro Jabber now, for example, we were talking before the podcast. I got in contact with, for example, Crip Mac. I don't know if you guys know Crip Mac, but like we were doing a not FaceTime, Instagram Live, and he was like coordinating. Okay, so we're gonna come over here. We're gonna do an interview podcast. Then we're gonna walk over and feed the homeless. He likes to feed the homeless. So, and like that'd be kind of cool. So like, see, I can't do that kind of podcast on Friendly Bear. I mean, I could, but like it's not trading and it's like a distraction because like if someone's listening to Friendly Bear podcast and the hardcore, like once the episode's over, the next one starts automatic, and it's like you're studying. To have Crip Mac jump in the middle of it, it's gonna be a distraction. So
Yeah,
like
Friendly
Macro
Bear
Jabber.
seems like a university basically, like a
Yeah.
university
Basically,
for trading.
Hard Knocks, man. Yes, trading Hard Knocks, short selling. It's the only podcast for short selling specific. Because like I just decided early on, like I'm just gonna only do short selling. I'm just gonna focus on that. I know a lot of traders like, oh, we gotta be well rounded, do long, short, and I was like that for a while. I was like, oh, I gotta eventually learn how to do long. But I decided like last year, I was like, man, I'm gonna be the only trader, just only shorts, and that's it. Maybe in the future when I make so much money, then I gotta evolve some other way. But I'm gonna be like the Batman, just like only like he's the Dark Knight. That's it. There's no so but yeah, so Macro Jabber, yeah, I'm doing interviews, all types of people. With Friendly Bear too, I had people reach out to me, like agencies and publicists and stuff, and I had to turn some people down. I'm like, it's not going to be a good fit. My podcast is trading. And then now, and like I've had some really interesting people reach out to me, and I'm like, you know what? Now I have a place for that, Macro Jabber, and like, it's learning about like all types of things, life. For example, I'm going to cover the topic of business credit and how to LLCs and stuff on Macro Jabber, or like other forms of finances and like real estate, and just it's just a like valuetainment, like value and entertainment, and and just improving all types of ways.
I like how you're utilizing podcasts. It's of a similar way that we utilize podcasts in terms of like actually gaining information. Like you said that you invite guests on that are experts in a particular area that you want to gain information on, which is like a super sick way. And I think that more people should honestly do it because it's not a huge amount of effort to like set up a actual podcast, and it's a great way to grow your personal brand, get content, build a relationship with another person, and then be able to actually access information that you probably wouldn't be able to access otherwise. I'm a huge thing of being able to really push as much value as possible to people. And a podcast is like the number one best way to be like inviting somebody on a podcast. You're giving them value by coming onto the production, basically.
Yeah, you're giving them value, and it focus you. Like for me, it helped. Like if someone wrote a book, I'm interviewing an author. What I do is I get a form of their book, I read it, and I write notes on it, and then I ask them questions. And like the podcast forces you to pay attention to what they're saying, and it's like there's no, you're not doing something else and getting the lesson in. You're focused. You're getting directly from the source. And, it's like, what better way to learn than that? Then on top of that, you're networking, like you're really because you're having a 1 hour conversation with someone about deep stuff, well thought, and just a very good conversation. Like, what better way to network than that? You got like the person's full attention. Uh, and, you're reciprocating that, and they're reciprocating. So like, yeah, man, the podcast has been awesome.
Hell yeah. Dude, I have like just a couple more wrap up questions. We've been going for, I said 30 to 45 minutes. We've been going for an hour and 15 minutes.
This is
But,
great, man. Yeah.
dude, I've been having a great time. In terms of like future pacing out, I feel like on social media, whenever I see people in the trading space, like I see people all the time where it's like make money quick, like get out quick, retire quick. It's like the mentality of quick money. We were going over that previously, but when the stage that you're at with trading, are you going to be trading for the rest of your life? Like, is that the goal, or is your goal to retire after you make just a certain amount of money?
That's a very good question, man. So like, yeah, trading like the way I do right now is a lot of, it's like clicking and very high alert, full focus. So like, I don't see myself doing that past like 45 years old, maybe 48. But like, what's the next step after that? Like, you don't see Ray Dalio clicking the button like that. So, so like, I model myself after these successful people, or like Bill Ackman or something. So maybe I can go the hedge fund route. I can move into bigger, or Grant Cardone. We talked about Grant Cardone before the podcast, or like I want to go like that. There's different stages of evolution, but or like, for example, Elon Musk started with PayPal, then he moved on, and look at him now. So it's like there's different stages of, you're evolving constantly in life. And for right now, I choose to master this and take it as far as it can go, and then build from that. And eventually, my dream, my goal is in my 60s, as a retirement alternative, is to design buildings, buy and property, and design and develop it myself.
Full
Sky
circle back to
skyscrapers.
architecture.
Yeah, so exactly, full circle. Like, I still love architecture. I'm not bitter about I love architecture, the creation, the creativity. It actually reflects a lot of my trading. I'm always thinking about like what the other side of the trade is thinking, what putting all the pieces of the puzzle together, like an architect pieces the puzzle of engineering, culture, science, math, everything, and creates a beautiful building out of it. So it's the same thing in another way. Like, the world is your oyster, whatever you want to make it. So like, yeah, that comes into play for me. But like, I want to revisit architecture again, and I want to, as far as me clicking the buttons here like crazy and doing all this, my process is flawless and meticulous, and requires a lot of, like, I'm on a keto diet, for example. I fast in the mornings. I do meditation. I do a calisthenic workout. I take like these brain supplement vitamins that I got from Doc Amen, the Amen clinics. I don't know if you know Doc Amen.
Yeah.
And like, I'm doing all this stuff, and it's like, that's cool, and I'm having a great time with it. But it's like I was watching like Shaquille O'Neal the other day, or like Kobe Bryant. Okay, at 40 years old, he retired from basketball, right? Kobe Bryant, rest in peace. But like, then he went on to do film, and maybe he does coaching or something even bigger, makes even a bigger impact. Look at Magic Johnson, for example. Like, these are LA guys, so like, I know about them. But Magic Johnson is way bigger now than he was as a player. He's a multi-billionaire. So I don't know. I have bigger plans for whatever I decide to do, but I do have in my mind like that longer term vision. It's not like I'm just gonna be. I hear sometimes successful traders say, "Oh, I want to be trading here until like I'm 70 years old or something." I'm like, okay. I mean, that's cool, but the way I trade, I it's too hardcore, because some people trade like swing trades or longer term plays or investing. So maybe that could work. But the way I trade now, the way I've made my money, um, yeah, it requires an intensity like an athlete, like an Olympic athlete. So, but yeah, so I have an evolution to do.
And right now, do you dissect the exact principles that like you abide by and all the techniques that you use on your podcast in terms of the exact day-to-day trading?
What's crazy is, yes, now it's a little bit less. I watch what I say, because now people pay attention more, and I might have like some whales follow me, and then they could potentially cause my patterns to fade away, or squeeze me. So that is a possibility. So what's crazy is like my earlier videos are more, I shared everything to the last detail. Now I share to subscribers like 95% of what I do. I leave some things out because it could cause problems if people join in or learn what I'm doing, and then now I have, they're taking my money. So um but yeah, from 2021 up until I would say December last year, everything is there, man. And most of that is exactly the same thing I do now, except now with a little bit more experience, things are a little tiny bit more refined. But yeah, man, everything is out there, bro. Everything's out there, and so I have actually some courses coming out, and those I share everything, but it's like people gotta make a commitment to that, and I like that instead of like someone out of the blue, like some lurker, some whale lurker, just goes on YouTube and learns what I'm doing and then uses it against me. Now there's an extra barrier to entry for that, so I'm okay with that, and I know how many I can monitor how many people are learning from me, or have got my course and learned this particular strategy, and I can keep tabs of that. And it's like, yeah, it's because like patterns do go away,
For
and
sure.
yeah, so like I want to make extra barriers now. So that's the crazy part, but like no one looks at those old podcasts. It's like buried down there. So I mean, unless you're really dedicated, you can find them. But
Dude, when you go viral, man, that's when people are gonna be searching back. They're gonna be like, "How did this guy make
yeah,
it?"
actually, I see a little bit of that now. So I started to get a lot more attention this past couple months, and I see people on Twitter talking. Like one guy asked, like on my post, "Hey David, where can I find this old video that you had made?" And I responded, "You're gonna have to find it yourself, man. I like it. I like people to find it themselves." And then someone came out of nowhere and said, "Look, here's the link. I had to dig so far back, but here's the link." And I'm like, "Okay, look." So like, people are starting to go out of their way now. They see the value in it and they're digging it up. But it's which is cool, but like, yeah, you're going to have to do the work yourself. Just like I had to do the work myself. So
I'm glad that you're coming out with a course, bro, because like real real people that are experts in the industry and actually doing it, like it makes sense to come out with a course in terms of their audience coming to it and actually having to put some skin in the game, instead of, and which will make them take the steps forward when they actually have money involved in it, compared to having like just a completely free environment, absorbing all the information and not necessarily taking any action on it. And I find it crazy. I think it's because like all the scams just in the coaching business industry, where people are hesitant to pay like a couple $1,000s for a fully built out course, maybe consolidating all of your information that you've learned over all of the 6 years in the massive amounts of failure. But people can so easily spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in university tuition because they get basically loans for it. So it's unbelievable thinking the contradiction between that.
yeah, that was always an epiphany for me. It's like I don't understand. So it's like, for example, I was talking to someone the other day. All the education that I invested in myself is probably under 30 grand, and I've been able to achieve so much more. But my architecture education was, let's say, a couple of six figures, and more than a couple six figures, and but it was okay to do that. That's normal. That's the loans for that. So like, yeah, and so with trading, there's a lot of gurus out there, the fake gurus, and people could waste their time with that. And that's the main thing. You want to investigate who you're learning from, and if it's a real person, you just got to follow instructions, man. That's it. And it's like you can't learn this stuff in school. When I was in 2016, and I was first learning and investigating trading and all that, um, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go to the UCLA School of Management, business school and see if there's like stock trading courses I can take, or in their library some books. Because as a grad student, a recent grad, I had access to the business school, a really intense business school. So I went there to the library. They had a Coca-Cola booth from the New York Stock Exchange from like 1920, 1930. And I was like, oh, I'm in the right place. They have an exchange booth here, and they probably have stocks. Nope, no stock trading material, nothing. I had to find it on YouTube, and that's how I found the course. And I investigated for a long time. So you can't find this stuff in school. And after the podcast and people coming up to me, I had no intention of doing any courses. But like after the pod, so many people coming up and asking questions, and I've done a ton of Q&As with fans of the podcast and people in the Friendly Bear community answering questions. It makes sense for me to put out a course, and like people, they want this knowledge. Like I put a very small price subscription, and it gets filled up with like people that are hungry to learn, dedicated people, because like my podcast is like not a podcast for people that want fast money. And I'm like, it makes sense for me to do this, and like I'm giving value because like I'm a real trader, I'm authentic, I'm genuine. I've spoken on the internet, just like now, 500 hours of me speaking. I'm obviously not an actor, so it's like you can't learn this stuff in school. So like my value to the world is to to share, and like I wish when I was starting out I found someone like me now, and then like could learn. That would have solved a lot of problems. So like I understand the value in that, and like it's feels good to help out, man. I'll tell you what, I get a lot of messages, man. I never thought of this in a million years that I would be getting these messages of people saying thank you, and like long-winded messages of like gratefulness that I'm just like sharing what I know, and just like my story of like Skid Row. And so I've shared that story only to like private subscribers or people in the Discord, and they just love to hear that. And I was very insecure about that story for a long time, and then now I can inspire people with it. How awesome is that? And that helps me grow as a trader and as a person. So like it's a win-win-win-win, like all around. So yeah, man, it's awesome.